Zuckerberg just admitted to working with Biden-Harris administration to censor Americans. He's either admitting to this because he's being honorable, he's done with the Democratic Party, or he's getting ahead of a whistleblower. Either way, this is a very hard letter for him to write.
Patrick Bet-David goes over why the world is absolutely falling apart for the Democrats, for the woke left, for Kamala Harris, and for everyone else who supports that side of things. It's getting pretty insane. We have Mark Zuckerberg coming out and exposing all of the woke left censorship when it comes to Facebook, when it comes to Meta, stuff that we all suspected this whole time. Zuckerberg comes out after going on Joe Rogan and, telling Joe Rogan that this stuff wasn't going on. Zuckerberg comes out and just reveals everything, all of the censorship that's coming from the woke left. And Patrick Bet-David is mind blown at the whole thing. And like I said, the world is absolutely falling apart for the DNC, for the Democrats right now, because we have people like Tulsi Gabbard, RFK coming out and endorsing Donald Trump, more Democrats to come to endorse Donald Trump in the future. Heavy rumors say that. And then also Donald Trump saying that RFK and Tulsi Gabbard will both be on the presidential transition team going into this next presidency for Donald Trump if he wins this next election. Let's get into Patrick Bet-David here on Valuetainment on the PBD Podcast, talking about Zuckerberg coming out and exposing all of the woke censorship on these social media platforms. This is insane stuff. Let's get into it.
Zuckerberg writes a love letter to a lot of people that claimed he was censoring them in 2020 election. So this is, if you can show the logo all the way at the top so they know it's Meta. Okay, so it's to the Honorable Jim Jordan, Chairman, Committee on the Judiciary. And then he says, Chairman Jordan, I appreciate the committee's interest in content moderation on online platforms. As you are aware, Meta has produced thousands of documents as part of your investigation and made a dozen employees available for transcribed interviews. Further to our cooperation with your investigation, I welcome the opportunity to share what I've taken away from this process. There's a lot of talks right now around how the U.S. government interacts with companies like Meta, and I want to be clear about our position. Our platforms are for everyone. We're about promoting speech and helping people connect in a safe and secure way. As part of this, we regularly hear from governments around the world and others with various concerns around public discourse and public safety. Okay, we're good so far. In 2021, senior officials from Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take content down, and we own our decisions, including COVID-19 related changes we made to our enforcement in the wake of this pressure. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. So he mans up and takes responsibility for it, right? The fact that, look, they forced us, but we could have said no, but we said yes. I also think we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction, and we're ready to push back if something like this happens again. In a separate situation, the FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the leads up to the 2020 election. That fall, when we saw a New York Post story, we all remember this story, reporting on corruption allegations, including then Democratic President.
It's so funny how everybody has their go-to get out of jail free card. Like when it comes to the Middle East war and everything, people will just say, oh, you're criticizing Israel. Oh, you're an anti-Semite. And then when it comes to anybody criticizing like the Biden family, obviously, you have the racist, misogynist. You criticize women, you're a misogynist. You criticize any minority, you're a racist. And then you come to the criticizing the Biden family, oh, you're just spreading Russian disinformation. So not the FBI didn't go to Mark Zuckerberg and say, hey, you need to censor this laptop story. They're like, hey, just warning you, there might be some Russian disinformation in the near future about the Biden family. If you see that, make sure you take it down, because this could affect our next election. And this is Russian disinformation. This isn't coming from true news sources. Like, it's so funny how everybody has their little get out of jail free card, and the Biden families and basically the Democratic parties get out of jail free card when it comes to censorship. And when it comes to just calling people liars, they can just call them, oh, you're just a Russian disinformation agent or whatever. You're colluding with Russia in some way, like they say about Donald Trump all the time.
Presidential nominee Joe Biden's family. Guys, this is pretty bad. I mean, it doesn't get worse than this. We sent that story to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it while waiting for a reply. It's since been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation. And in retrospect, we shouldn't have demoted the story. We've changed our policy and processes to make sure this doesn't happen again. For instance, we no longer temporarily demote things in the U.S. while waiting for fact checkers. Rob, if you can go to the next story.
This is very, very, very respectable by Mark Zuckerberg, because this isn't a convenient time for him to do this. Maybe it is a convenient time. Maybe Mark Zuckerberg sees the writing on the wall. Maybe he understands, saw the backlash that he got from the Joe Rogan podcast. He's seeing people like Patrick Bet-David come out and speak out against all the censorship, and seeing the tide turn against censorship online, seeing what Elon Musk is doing with X, all this stuff. Maybe it is convenient. In my opinion, it doesn't seem too convenient, because it is getting into election season. We're about to have another presidential election, and it would be in Mark Zuckerberg's best interest if he was trying to get on the Democrats' good side, get on the elites of the world's good side, or stay on their good side, because he obviously already was. He wouldn't want to come out with something like this at this time. This would be something that you come out with 2 years into a presidential term. You don't come out with this 2 months before a presidential election when you're talking about censorship from the previous election. It's really respectable that Mark Zuckerberg came out with this at this time period, because this means that he's probably going to really do the opposite of censorship going into this next election, because he sees the flaws in what he did during the past election. Let's see what else Patrick Bet-David has to say about this crazy Zuckerberg story.
Zoom in a little bit more. There you go. Apart from this content moderation, I want to address the contributions I made during the last presidential cycle to support electoral infrastructure. The idea was here to make sure local elections jurisdictions across the country had the resources they needed to help people vote safely during a global pandemic. I made these contributions through the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. They were designed to be nonpartisan. Of course, they were partisan, spread across urban, rural, and suburban communities. Still, despite the analysis I've shown otherwise, I know that some people believe this work benefited only one party over the other. My goal is to be neutral and not play a role one way or another, or even to appear to be playing a role. So I don't plan on making a similar contribution this cycle. So Rob, go back to the tweet. And Tom, I'm going to go to you first. Here's what I said. I said, so Zuckerberg just admitted to working with Biden-Harris administration to censor Americans. He's either admitting to this because he's being honorable, he's done with the Democratic Party, or he's getting ahead of a whistleblower. Either way, this is a very hard letter for him to write. Tom, your thoughts on the story?
Well, I think he's getting ahead.
That's 100% correct by Patrick Bet-David too. And I do think it is one of the first two. We've been seeing kind of the redemption of Mark Zuckerberg for a while coming. Just the humanization of Mark Zuckerberg from this creepy robotic lizard person, Democrat soy boy, to like somebody who boxes and does UFC MMA fights and stuff like that. Just the humanization of the guy, and him coming out and giving some based opinions every once in a while. And this is definitely the most based thing that he did. It is a possibility, obviously, but I don't think this is him getting ahead of a whistleblower. I don't want to think that it's him getting ahead of a whistleblower. I want to think this is him just being honorable, and also at the same time, like Patrick Bet-David said there, being done with the Democratic Party. That would be awesome if we had not just Twitter and X, but now we have Zuckerberg, who owns Meta, one of the biggest, he not only does he own Facebook, but he also owns Instagram, two of the biggest censorship platforms. Like, I know I run a lot of Instagram and Facebook ads. So like, I understand the type of censorship. I understand how crazy it is, how hard it is to navigate those waters and make sure you don't say anything wrong, especially when it comes to political topics. So if we have not just X and Twitter, but we also have Facebook and Instagram and Meta not censoring one side, not censoring right wingers, dude, that would be a huge win for free speech everywhere.
A whistleblower, because I think there's going to be people that testify, because there's going to be hearings. Trump wins, there is going to be hearings, and he knows it. How does he know? Well, words talk, numbers scream. And if you're Zuck, how do you scream? You scream with lobbyists. Rob, you have that chart real quick? So lobbying is how he talks to the government, and then he knows what's going on. He hears from people. Take a look at this. The social media people, which is Meta, ByteDance, which is our good friends at TikTok, right? X, Discord, and Snap. This is what they all spend. And if you take a look, Snap, Discord, and X, they hardly spend anything, not even 8% of it. The majority is ByteDance and Meta. Of the $30 million it's spent, look at that blue bar. Meta spends by far the most. Of 142 registered lobbyists in social media, Meta has 71.
Get out of here, 50%.
50% of them. ByteDance has 45. And X, Discord, and Snap, they only have 25, with Snap and Discord having 17. So that means that Elon's got 8 lobbyists, like 11%.
How do you process that?
I process it is that Zuck is writing this.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
To us, to Jim Jordan, who is going to chair the hearings. He knows what's coming, and he has the lobbyists up there that they have their ears on the ground. Lobbyists don't only talk to our elected officials, they listen to them. And I think Zuck knows exactly what's going on. There are stories out there and there are statistics out there that Instagram had and still has a pedophile problem. Pedophiles use coding and they try to beat the systems on Insta to have their postings, and that he still has that issue going on. And I wish in the last part of that letter that he didn't say, I won't be making a similar contribution this year. I wish he said he won't be making any. Because people popped up immediately. Similar, you mean the same dollar amount similar? Or if it's 5% less, you're saying it's not similar. So there's a lot of words that people like me looked at it with kind of a legal eye and picked things out in this letter. This letter is Zuck getting out ahead of it.
Okay. Amy, what do you think?
I completely agree with Tom's sentiments. And even if it's not the last thing and maybe he is being honorable, in my opinion, it's a little too late. I feel like COVID is one of those things that was really memory hold upon people. We forget the level of psyop that we went through. Like, this is probably the biggest psyop of my generation, at least.
I kind of disagree that it's too late. Let me know in the comments. Do you think it's too late for Mark Zuckerberg to come out and kind of reverse the things that he did with the censorship? I don't think it's too late. I think this is the absolutely perfect time. I think if it's now, then it's never. But I think this is the perfect time. Like I said, with people like RFK coming out and endorsing Trump, people like Tulsi Gabbard endorsing Trump, both of them joining the presidential team of Donald Trump. Like, so many more Democrats apparently rumored to come out and endorse Donald Trump as well in the near future. You know, this is becoming like the party of unity, and it will be a great time for Zuckerberg to come out and say, now Meta's not going to censor the right wing anymore. We're tired of doing that. We're tired of doing the bidding of the Democratic Party, and we're not going to do it anymore. And that would be an amazing win for not just right wingers, but for the country overall, for free speech, you know, for the future of everything, of the entire planet. It would be a huge win, in my opinion. I don't think it's too late, but let me know in the comments. Do you think it's too late? Do you agree with Patrick Bet David there that it's most likely him being honorable and being done with the Democratic Party? Or do you think it's Zuckerberg trying to get out ahead of a whistleblower like Tom thinks? Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole Valuetainment and PBD podcast clip of Patrick Bet David talking about this bombshell Mark Zuckerberg letter. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole PBD podcast situation.